Welcome back, Deep Divers. We're heading back into the occult archives today.
Always a good time.
It is. That's our corner of the deep dive, where we take a look at some of history's most mysterious and sometimes feared books. You know,
Right.
those grimoires and ancient religious texts that people think are just too dangerous to read. And today, in our 218th deep dive, we are going to look at the Devils of Loudun. It's a story about demonic possession and power and the politics of witchcraft.
Yeah, the 17th century in France,
Mm-hmm.
Loudun,
Mm-hmm.
France,
Mm-hmm.
there were some Ursuline nuns who were thought to be possessed by demons.
Mm-hmm.
And at the heart of it all was this priest,
Right, a parish priest. Curé Urbain Grandier.
Urbain Grandier, who was eventually accused of witchcraft and met a very bad end.
Oh, yeah. Not good. Not good at all. And what's really interesting here is that we have a primary source.
Oh,
Yeah, it was written in 1634 by this guy, Monsieur Daigneau.
okay.
He was a counselor at La Flèche. And so this isn't just, some story that's been passed down, right? Right.
This is somebody who actually saw it all firsthand.
Wow.
And what's even more remarkable is that there are only like 2 copies of this document left in the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're working with something very, very unique. And right from the start, this Monsieur Daigneau, he says, yeah, I think Grandier was guilty.
Oh, interesting.
So we're dealing with a pretty specific point of view, definitely shaped by, by the time and the events.
Right. Right. So I guess what we're trying to do is understand that point of view, but
Mhm.
also to be aware of any potential biases. Like Daigneau was involved in these events, and his take on things would have been colored by, I don't know, anxieties,
Oh, for sure.
fears,
Yeah, absolutely.
the beliefs of 17th century France. To really get this case, I think we should first think about, the long history of beliefs about magic, possession.
Right. Set the scene.
Yeah, and our source actually talks about this a bit in the intro.
Okay. So Monsieur Daigneau, his accounts takes us all the way back to Assyria.
Yeah. Apparently star worship was big there, and that's where you get the Chaldeans, the Magi.
The Magi.
Right. They were the priests.
Mm.
And their temples were basically astronomical observatories. And they're the ones who, they're often given credit for inventing astrology. That whole idea that the stars can predict the future and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting how they mixed religion with science.
Yeah.
And this idea that you could understand the cosmos, maybe even control it.
Right.
And that's something we don't really think about today.
No, not so much. And then there's Persia, where you have Zoroaster, and he's the one who introduced this whole good versus evil thing with Ormuzd and Ahriman.
Yeah, the dualistic system.
Right. And in Persia, magic was basically, anything to do with science or religion.
Huh?
And they called their priests magi, too.
Really?
Yeah. But the kings, they thought they got their wisdom straight from God.
I see. Well, Persia, they add a moral dimension to it all
Yeah.
with this, fight between good and evil. That would have really resonated with later Christians.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And then there's Egypt.
Okay.
Which is, it's presented as like the real birthplace of magic as like a specific art,
Mm-hmm.
all those temples. For Isis, Osiris,
Yeah.
and Isis, she was connected to the moon, wisdom, all that.
Yeah.
She even had that inscription on her shrines. I am all that was, that is, and that will be. No mortal can raise my veil.
Whoa.
Very mysterious.
Yeah.
And the Egyptian priests, they were really into astrology. They thought, the stars controlled the human body.
Oh, wow.
Even their funeral rites were like assigning different parts of the body to different star gods.
That's pretty organized
Yeah.
for magic, I mean.
Right. They really systematized it.
Yeah.
It's all tied into their, gods and the cosmos and everything. It's another layer of how people thought about the supernatural.
Right, right.
And then it moves to Greece, thanks to people like Orpheus and Pythagoras.
Wow.
They had traveled to Egypt. So Greek sorcery was things like talking to the dead, oracles,
Mhm.
and worshiping Hecate. She was the goddess of the moon, but also like the patron of sorcerers.
Oh, wow.
And they thought she sent out these phantom spirits, right? To teach witchcraft.
Spooky.
I know, right?
Definitely adds a darker side to magic
Yeah.
with all the spirits and the dead and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And then the Romans, borrowing from the Greeks, like they did with everything.
Right.
Apparently, occult science, it wasn't really a Roman thing until, I don't know, a couple of centuries before Christianity came along.
Hmm.
Before that, they had their own Etruscan sorcery, which was divination, ancestor worship,
Hmm.
and some kind of night goddess.
Okay.
And they had this king, Numa, and he was like the big teacher of magic, Roman magic.
Interesting.
It had, well, it had religious and medical parts to it.
Yeah, the Romans really show how these beliefs, they could spread and change with different cultures.
Right.
Mixing with traditions, sharing supernatural ideas.
Yeah. And now this is where it gets interesting for our story. The early Christian church, they banned pagan magic, but they had their own way of dealing with, the supernatural.
Oh, of course.
Right? They thought stuff like mania, epilepsy, those were demons.
Okay.
And you got to get rid of them through exorcism.
Exorcisms.
Right, special words, rituals, all that. By the late 4th century, the church officially said, yeah, exorcism is a thing. And then there's relics, right?
Right.
And visions.
And trances.
Right. It's like they didn't completely reject the supernatural.
No, they wanted to control it.
Exactly. Define it. Make it Christian.
Make it their own.
Right. And then, the Middle Ages, that's when magic in Europe, it loses that religious part, becomes the black art associated with the devil, witchcraft, talking to the dead.
Yeah.
But scholars, they were still looking for stuff like the Philosopher's Stone, the elixir of life, all that.
Got a lot darker, though.
Oh, yeah. It was forbidden.
Yeah. So, you see, magic went from something, accepted to demonized.
Right.
Heresy.
Right. And this is the world of Loudun.
Yeah. A world where the supernatural, it's real and it's dangerous.
Okay, so that's our historical backdrop. Now let's meet our main character, Urbain Grandier. Born at the very end of the 16th century.
Okay.
He became the curate, that's like the parish priest, and the canon of Loudun. He was a popular preacher, apparently.
Okay.
But not exactly known for his, how do we say this?
Virtuous behavior.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Right. Our source mentions his corruption of morals. Apparently, there were some husbands and fathers who were not happy with him.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. It seems like he had a bit of a reputation.
So charismatic, but not living the best life.
No, not exactly. And that really made people angry. Not just rivals, but people who felt personally wronged by him.
Right.
And he wasn't really good at making things better.
Oh.
He was very proud. Had a sharp tongue and was a master of, what's it called? Pettifogging.
Oh, yeah. Using those little legal loopholes and tricks.
Right. Just to annoy people. And our author, he calls him a scourge of the town. A huge scandal. And families even started going to other towns for their religious services.
Wow.
Yeah, just to avoid him.
That's saying something.
It is. So, with all this conflict, he definitely raised tensions in the town.
Yeah, even without the magic accusations.
Right. He was already a problem.
Exactly.
A problem. But here's the thing. Despite all those enemies, Grandier had people who supported him. Mostly Huguenots.
Huguenot.
Yeah, the French Protestants. They were a minority. And often looked at with suspicion by the Catholics. So everyone was worried that Grandier might secretly be a Calvinist.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah, that was a bad thing to be in 17th century France.
Definitely adds another layer to the story.
And he didn't exactly try to blend in. He questioned the privileges of the Carmelites. They're a Catholic religious order.
Okay.
He even made fun of their sermons. And he annoyed the bishop by granting marriage dispensations, like letting people get married sooner than they were supposed to.
Okay.
So that last one, it really got him in trouble. The Bishop of Poitiers arrested him in 1630.
Uh-oh.
And the punishment was fasting on bread and water, no priestly duties for 5 years, and a lifetime ban from Loudun.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was defiant.
Oh, yeah. And not respectful of authority at all. But Grandier, he fought back. He appealed to the Archbishop of Bordeaux.
Okay.
Then, because the witnesses lived in Loudun, the case went back to the Poitiers courts.
Right.
And this is where things get messy. Apparently, he was bribing people, intimidating witnesses. 2 priests even took back their statements against him. But despite all that, Grandier got acquitted twice. He even went back to Loudun with a laurel branch, like a victory parade, just to rub it in.
Oh, he was provoking them.
Yeah, and he kept threatening to sue them. The point is, nobody was accusing him of magic yet. It was all about his behavior. And his, his disobedience to the church.
Okay, so the legal battles show how tough he was.
Yeah.
And how he could use his supporters. But it was all still about his actions.
Right. Now let's talk about the Ursuline convent.
All right.
It was founded 6 years before all this. It was a good place mostly for women from noble families.
Okay.
They had a good reputation. They had students.
Hmm.
But their prior, Musso, died. They needed a new leader.
So the convent, being new, they wanted to keep things, respectable.
Oh, yeah. No scandals.
Yeah, and losing their leader, that's a problem.
Yeah. And guess what? Grandier wanted the job.
Really?
Yeah. Can you believe it? He had no connection to the convent, but he wanted to be the prior.
Hmm.
The Mother Superior, Madame de Bellefille, she was like, no way.
Oh.
They had a big fight, and in the end, they chose this guy, Canon Mignon. He was supposed to be very spiritual, very smart, which made Grandier even angrier because they were total opposites. So Grandier, of course, decided to make trouble for Mignon and the nuns.
So Grandier tries to become the prior, which is, well, surprising.
It is?
Maybe he wanted power.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe he was just clueless.
Right.
And then not long after, weird things started happening at the convent.
What kind of weird things?
Well, extraordinary symptoms, they called it.
Okay.
At first, they kept it quiet. They didn't want to ruin the convent's reputation, The nuns, they went to doctors trying to figure out what was wrong with them.
Oh, wow.
Physically and spiritually. And their confessor, Canon Mignon, he was overwhelmed. 17 nuns were either possessed or influenced by something evil.
17.
17.
That's a lot.
It is.
So this is where everything changes.
Yeah.
From personal conflicts to the supernatural.
Right. And they tried to hide it at first.
Yeah.
Because they cared about their image.
Right.
But, well, secrets get out. Especially when you have, 17 possessed nuns.
Yeah.
The rumors spread and everyone started avoiding the convent.
Really?
Yeah, they called it a diabolical residence.
Oh.
And people in town, some thought it was a sickness.
Okay.
Maybe even something, indecent.
I see.
Others thought it was definitely supernatural.
Right, right. So people in the 17th century, they had different beliefs.
Oh, yeah. Some looking for natural explanations, some jumping right to the supernatural.
Yeah. In the convent, they lost students.
Mm-hmm. Money troubles.
But they kept on with their religious practices.
Even with all the fear and chaos.
Yeah. They were devout.
That's interesting.
It is. And then the exorcism started.
Okay.
They forced the demon to show itself.
Oh, wow.
And it said its name and caused these horrible convulsions, even lifted the Mother Superior off the ground.
What?
Yeah. And then they asked it, who's the magician doing this to you? Okay.
And guess what it said?
I don't know.
Urbain Grandier.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
exorcisms, and now Grandier is involved.
Right.
Getting serious.
Canon Mignon and his assistants, they were shocked. I mean, they thought Grandier was a bad guy, but not a sorcerer.
Yeah, yeah.
But they kept asking, and every time the answer was the same.
Wow.
So in October 1632, Mignon went to the magistrates,
Okay.
told them what was happening. But Grandier, he knew how to play the game. He had friends among the magistrates.
Right, the Huguenots.
Exactly. So he filed petitions, questioned the exorcisms, threatened Mignon, said his reputation was being attacked. He even wanted the nuns locked up, and the exorcisms stopped.
Wow. So he's trying to cause chaos.
Yeah, create confusion.
And using his connections.
Exactly. And it kind of worked.
Really?
Yeah, the magistrates were split. Mignon, he backed off. The town was in an uproar.
Wow.
Everyone arguing. Even the queen heard about it.
The queen.
Yeah, she sent this guy, Abbe Moresco, to investigate.
But then, King Louis XIII, he decided to tear down the walls of Loudun.
Okay.
And he sent this guy, M. du Laubardemont, to oversee it.
Right.
Laubardemont, while he was there, he saw all the chaos, and he realized Grandier was at the center of it. So he reported back to the king and to Cardinal Richelieu.
So it went from local to national.
Exactly.
It became a royal problem.
Yeah. And King Louis, he was a very religious man.
Okay.
He thought this whole thing was, evil. And he had to stop it. So he made Laubardemont a special commissioner with a ton of power.
Wow.
Yeah, in November 1633, Laubardemont could investigate without anyone questioning him. He could even arrest Grandier and anyone helping him.
Okay. So this is because of Grandier's support.
Right. And his legal tricks.
Yeah.
They needed someone who could, cut through all that.
Makes sense.
So, December 1633, Laubardemont starts his investigation.
All right.
But people were scared to talk.
Oh.
He had to make a royal announcement telling everyone to tell the truth.
And remember those two priests?
Yeah.
ones who took back their statements,
Mhm.
well, they came forward again and said, no, what we said before was true.
Really?
Yeah, they said they were pressured to change their story.
I see. So Laubardemont is finding out how bad things are.
Oh, yeah. And the nuns, they gave their testimonies.
Okay.
Other people came forward, too. 2 women said they had, affairs with Grandier.
Mm.
One even said he offered to make her a princess of magicians.
A princess of magicians.
Yeah,
That's quite an offer.
it is.
So it sounds like he was up to some shady stuff.
Oh, definitely. And then there were the nuns' stories. They were really something.
What did they say?
They said Grandier was sneaking into the convent for 4 months without anyone seeing him.
How?
Nobody knows. They said he tempted them during services,
Mm.
that they were attacked by invisible forces, and they had the marks to prove it.
Really?
Yeah. Doctors even saw them. And they said they saw the ghost of Prior Musso.
The old prior.
Yeah. The one who died.
Wow.
But here's the strangest part. The Mother Superior and other nuns, they said it was Grandier doing all this.
Okay.
But they said they never saw him in person, only like through supernatural means.
Through magic.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow, that's strange.
It is. And then there were about 60 witnesses, nuns and other women who talked about Grandier's, well, affairs and other stuff.
Like what?
Sacrilege, incest, things like that.
Hmm. So the nun stories are really important.
Yeah.
And the fact that they all agreed, even though they never saw him,
Right. It all added up.
it did.
Grandier's family tried to help him, but Laubardemont, he wouldn't listen.
Oh, right. He had all that power.
Exactly. He could do whatever he wanted.
Uh,
Grandier, when they questioned him, he denied everything.
okay. So this is showing how far Laubardemont's power went.
Yeah. He was unstoppable. And Grandier, he kept denying everything, even when it looked bad.
Right.
And even letters from Grandier's supporters saying the possessions were fake, they were intercepted.
Intercepted.
Yeah. Laubardemont's men got to them.
Wow.
Even the Procurator General's reply, gone.
So they were controlling information.
Mm-hmm. Nobody could interfere. And in May 1634, the King's Council made it official.
Yeah.
They made a decree saying Laubardemont was in charge and nobody could stop him.
Wow.
Yeah, after that, they moved Grandier to the Loudun prison.
To face everyone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But before that, Laubardemont, he wanted to make sure the nuns were telling the truth.
Okay.
So, with the bishop's permission, he separated them, sent them to different convents,
Right.
and he questioned them for a long time.
Intensely.
Oh,
To see if they would change their stories.
exactly. Our source says Laubardemont's notes were amazing, super detailed, filled 50 rolls of paper.
50.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the legal experts, they were impressed.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, the Bishop of Poitiers, he got involved too.
Really?
Yeah, he sent theologians, experts in religion,
Right.
and he personally oversaw the exorcisms for 2.5 months.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So they're taking this very seriously.
Oh, yeah. They wanted to be absolutely sure about the possessions.
Yeah.
And when they finally brought everyone together, the nuns, they stuck to their stories.
No changes?
No. Even when they were questioned separately by different people, no contradictions.
Yeah.
Our author, he even says it's different from normal criminal cases.
Oh, how so?
Well, in those, people usually contradict each other.
Oh, right.
But the nuns, they were all in agreement.
Interesting.
And Grandier, he never said the nuns had it out for him.
Makes sense since they didn't know him.
Exactly.
So their story seemed more believable.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, here's the thing. They probably could have convicted Grandier for other stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, like abusing his position as a priest, sacrilege.
Right.
But the commissioners, they wanted to prove the possession
Hmm.
and that Grandier was using magic. They saw it as a way to fight back against the Protestants.
Oh, I see. It was religious and political.
Exactly. They thought the Protestants were lying about the supernatural.
Hmm.
And this was their chance to prove them wrong.
So they needed to prove the devil was real
Right.
to defend their faith.
Yeah. And to make sure they were doing the right thing, the court, they prayed a lot, went to confession, received communion. They even had a big procession through town asking for God's help.
Wow.
And the judges, the exorcists, they went to church all the time.
They saw this as a spiritual fight.
Oh, yeah. As much as a legal one.
Hmm.
The nuns, they were examined for 40 days.
40 days.
Yeah. And according to our source, the demons, they did some crazy things.
Like what?
Well, they spoke languages the nuns didn't know. American Indian, Turkish, Spanish, Italian, Greek, German.
Wow.
The author even says there were people who confirmed it.
So proof of possession.
Right.
Yeah.
And the demons, they also revealed secrets. Things happening far away.
Really?
Yeah, like there was this thing with some rose leaves. A nun, she found a hidden request just by, I don't know, sensing it. And other stuff too. Personal secrets, things people knew who weren't even there.
So they thought it was psychic powers.
Yeah, something like that. And it all seemed very convincing, especially because there were witnesses.
Right.
Like the prior of Saint-Jacques-de-Thouars, even Madame de Laubardemont.
Wow.
Yeah.
So credible people.
Exactly.
Making it all more believable.
And then there were the physical things.
Okay.
The nuns, they had these terrible convulsions, their bodies contorting in ways that just shouldn't be possible.
Oh.
Yeah, their heads touching their feet, their limbs twisting, tongues swelling up, turning black, covered in pimples.
Oh, that's awful.
I know.
But they can still talk.
Yeah. And the Mother Superior, she was even seen levitating, floating in the air. They even reported it to the Sorbonne.
The Sorbonne.
Yeah, in Paris.
Yeah.
And the doctors, they agreed this was definitely demonic.
So the contortions, the levitation, all very convincing.
Yeah. Especially with doctors and theologians agreeing.
Makes sense.
So in June 1634, they took Grandier to the St. Croix Church.
Why?
They wanted him to exorcise the nuns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but when he tried, he messed up the words.
Wow.
Well, he was supposed to say, impero,
I command.
I command.
Right.
But he said, kukagorphos.
What does that mean?
It means, I am constrained by you. Like, he was being forced. The bishop was not happy.
I bet.
And then one of the nuns, Sister Clara, the demon in her, it challenged Grandier to speak Greek.
Oh, wow.
But Grandier just, he went quiet, looked confused. Not a good look for a guy accused of being a powerful sorcerer.
No, not at all.
So to his accusers, this meant he was guilty.
Or at least weak.
Right. And then there were the pacts.
Okay, tell me about the pacts.
Well, during the exorcisms, the demon said Grandier had made pacts with them.
Written agreements?
Yeah, 4 of them. And one was with Lucifer himself.
Oh.
They said, Grandier said Lucifer was his god, that he renounced Christianity, that he would do evil things, and that he basically undid his baptism.
Wow. That's pretty damning.
It is.
So the pacts were seen as proof of his magic.
Exactly. And they even claimed to have found them.
Really? Physical copies?
Yeah.
Wow. That's huge.
It is. It's like the ultimate proof.
Right.
But here's another twist.
Yeah.
Some of the possessed people, they actually defended Grandier.
What?
Yeah. They said they had lied about him because the demon made them. And the Mother Superior, she did this whole thing. Rope around her neck, candle, kneeling before Laubardemont. Then she tried to hang herself.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. But everyone thought it was just the demon tricking them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they tried to make the demon take communion, the Eucharist,
Right.
to prove it was telling the truth. But it refused.
Interesting. So these conflicting stories, they make things complicated.
They do.
But the demon wouldn't take communion.
Right. So they thought it was still lying. So putting it all together, the commissioners, they decided Grandier was guilty.